Hello everyone. Today I want to talk about uh, the major distros, and we generate them. And I was let's make this full screen. Oops. Oh, oh. Let's make it full screen. Here we go. I was inspired by the old school YouTube videos in the olden days, and I think maybe some of them still do it, where they have people rating distros or rating browsers. So instead of doing it in a PowerPoint, I decided to create a web app. Maybe one day I have a lot going on, but maybe one day within this year I will post this app that I created. Maybe I'll create a blog spot a website for it, so people can use it. Because you can use this app for a lot of things. You can rate anything, which help you. Like if you wanna create, something equivalent to a PowerPoint. So anyway, so I started this. What I want to talk about today is the main distributions in Linux, and they are the main distribution for a reason, because they work. And so we are talking about the average person. And I did rate them because they are the best. We are rating only the best distributions, or one of the very good ones. We have to have stability. We have to have work on most computers, not every computer. The very brand new computers, always Linux have problems with, but like the computer you buy from Walmart or Kmart or Sam's Club, these computers, even though they new, they have older technology or older parts, so they will still will work on Linux. So unless you're buying like those very very expensive computer with the edge, you know, on the edge of technology, yeah, maybe, then all Linux probably will start struggle on, especially anything Debian based. So easy to configure. So if the distro is passing those, we're gonna rate the distro on the configuration. Will it configure good? Meaning, will it setting it up, creating a flow, a reasonable flow for the average user? Will it do it? Not bloated, because if you are using Linux, especially if you are most people, and I see it, and I did it myself. Refurbish computer for friends or whatever. So like you don't get the best of. Sometimes you don't get the best of laptops. For me, in my case, so will that distro work? Is it if the distro is loaded, it won't work? Does the distro have all the tools? Which I mean, not every tool, all the tools you need with a click of a button. In Linux, of course, you can. If you're good enough in Linux, you can have any Linux and make it work. It's like a guy who know how to fix a car. Your car can be a piece of, like, not it could be a Dodge, for example, with 300,000 miles, but you still, if you fix it, it will work. But for the average user, you don't want to go in the terminal all the time. So let's start with Zorin. And Zorin was one of the main distros I used. I used Ubuntu, of course, at the time, and this is like I started doing Linux in the end of the pandemic. So I don't know, is it 5 years now or something like that, 4 or 5 years? And So Zorin was stable, but I will say it's less stable. There is two problems with Zorin because I use Zorin. I can speak with authority because I use Zorin a lot, you know. Except now I stopped using it. And when the distro they start to move to the next distro, they drop the ball on the old distro. So you get like some repositories will change. You have to either fix them or sometimes you can't. But the last time I downloaded the Zorin, the last version, it died on me. But I realized it could be a glitch, but it could be not. So you know what? I'm gonna say it is stable. We'll put it in the category, but it's not too stable, so it's not gonna move on in the race for the best distro, at least in my opinion. Of course, I definitely could be wrong. This is not science, you know. So so let's do Ubuntu. Ubuntu, when it comes to stability, is very stable, almost rivaling Debian for some reason, you know. And I think the reason is many of the contributors of Debian, they actually work for Canonical company that own Ubuntu. So they are really good. They are putting, so like they are Ubuntu is very important for Debian itself. I know it is based on Debian, but you know, but also Ubuntu is, you know, it's not a large company, but it's becoming a large company, you know, and it does definitely, they put an effort to make it stable, no doubt. Love Ubuntu or hate it, it is stable. Work on most computer. If this was the only category, Ubuntu will take it. Ubuntu will work on every weird computer, you know, you imagine. I don't know how many computers are refurbished in the last few years, but you know, AMD, an old Chromebook, whatever, it will work no matter what freaking computer you have, you know, like brands that you never heard of. They will work, you know. So Ubuntu take that for sure. Easy to configure. Well, it is a GNOME. Of course, you can get Ubuntu with different flavors also. We can add that. You can get Ubuntu. You can get, I guess even they have Ubuntu Cinnamon, you know. So like you have, but even in the traditional GNOME, you can install extensions. But even if you don't install extension, because you have on the top the bar, which have your clock and all these things, but you have a long dock to save everything, and of course it's all GNOMEs. You can use the window key to move things around, so that's alone make it easy configure, you know. And of course you can add anyone who, I made a few videos about extensions. We looked at, I remember I did change Zorin, for example, to look like Ubuntu, change Anduin OS to look like Ubuntu. So you can, with extensions, you can do whatever you want. So we give it that, you know. So, and you can have many flavors. Not bloated. Well, this Ubuntu gonna get stuck here. Ubuntu is bloated. Sadly, from the ISO itself to the use of snaps, it is really bloated. If you don't have a decent enough hardware, well, you don't have to have a very bad hardware, but if you have a decent enough hardware, Ubuntu is loaded. Ubuntu, because it's GNOME, it pull everything, and this is the power of GNOME actually. It pull everything. That's my opinion. It pull everything from my observation and put it in the RAM ready. so it uses a lot of RAM. But imagine if you have snaps and all the scrap and I soon telemetry and all the scrap. So like it gonna get bloated, you know. Okay, so Ubuntu got stuck here, so it didn't make it all the way to the top. That's fine. Let's look at what we should do. Let's look with Debian. Let's look at Debian. Debian is one of my favorite, you know, top Linux distro. Indeed, this computer is running a Debian right now. Stability, of course, Debian take the cake. The Debian is known for its stability. I had Debian 12, Debian 13, Debian 11, whatever, and all this. Like it's like it's never broke. I never had the Debian broke on me, you know. Work on most computer. Surprisingly, yes. Debian, I know people like think Debian don't work on most computers. On most computers Debian work, you know. Of course, we said it. Most people, the average user is not using an, you know, that neuron processor, you know. If you have an i5, i6, i5, i7, i9 computer, for example, an Intel computer like this, Ryzen, also ADM, your Debian will work. So most people, even if you go buy like a computer from your average, you know, computer place, Debian will work on it. Easy to configure, similar to Ubuntu. You can use extension for GNOME. GNOME itself is easy to configure, and you can have in installation you can have flavors. And for example, I have a very large laptop, not this one, but it have Debian on it, and it have the GNOME Debian and the Cinnamon Debian. So like I can just even boot them in the same, you know, from when I start the computer. If I want to run a GNOME, I can do it. If I want to run a Cinnamon, I can do it. So that is definitely a thing. Debian definitely is not bloated, doesn't have any bloat in it. There is no snaps, there is no flatbacks, so like it is not bloated at all. So, and you know, it is really, really good. Does it have all the tools? It have some tools. It doesn't have really all the tools. It doesn't have, like, I have to, for example, download the Etcher. For example, I had on this computer, I had to set up ZRAM, even though I actually have a lot of RAM, but you have to do it in the terminal. There is no, you're not doing it through the installation. So it doesn't have a lot of tools, and for the good or bad, it doesn't. That's the fact. So it does have some tools, but it's definitely not bloated. So let's get it above Debian here, above Ubuntu. Okay, so that is one thing. So let's look at probably the Mint is the favorite distro. If maybe it is the favorite or the most favorite distro around the globe. It's definitely around here. People love it. I myself, if I have actually two Linux Mint installations in my home, and if I if I refurbish a good enough computer for someone, which one I put Mint, so it is. But let's look at the category. It's stable, absolutely stable. It's based on Ubuntu and based on Debian, so work on most computers, absolutely work on most computers. Easy to configure? Absolutely. It is easy to configure, definitely 100%. You can move because it has traditional desktop. You can save your flow in you can save in your desktop, you can save in the panel, you can save in your favorites, so you can have all your apps and all this, and also allow you to use web apps and stuff like that. So it is definitely very, very good. Bloated, you know, Cinnamon is a little bit bloated, but it's definitely less than any Ubuntu, and but and of course you can get Cinnamon with like XFCE, for example, but it is really not bloated for unless you have a very, very old hardware. Cinnamon will still actually run, but it will start to glitch. So, but it is not bloated. It's basically, think of it as similar to Debian. Does it have all the tools? It have more tools than Debian. Have a USB, for example, USB maker. It have Flatpak configured. It have, like it have like TV, internet TV. If you're installing this, especially if you're installing this for a grandma or a grandpa living in the country, they can use this to watch TV. So it is definitely, it does, but doesn't have all the tools. So, but it is definitely up there. So let's lower Debian. Okay, I never thought, I like Debian more, but I think doing the grid thing, it show you logically what work, and of course this is not set in stone, of course, Okay, so when it comes, let's go to MX Linux. It's stable. Oh, super stable. It is a Debian. So work on most computers, whatever work on Debian, work on MX Linux, but I'll even add more. Old computers, it work on old computers too. So that is like really ancient computers still work on this. Easy to configure. Take the cake. You can not just you can save things to the desktop, to the panel, to the dashboard, to the favorites. Not you can even configure everything. You can move your bar to the side, on top, the bottom. So like you can do everything you want, So, and all with the click of a button. And you, of course, you can do it also the hard way too. But it is. I forgot what is this category. Uploaded. Okay. So, yeah, you can definitely do it. So let's look at. Is it loaded? Absolutely not. If there's anything that is not loaded, that is MX Linux. MX Linux is very light, and so it doesn't have all the tools. It absolutely have way more tools than any other distro you think of. It have the MX Linux tools, which allow you to become like a power user, as they say. It allows you to install ZRAM during installation. It allow you to. It have bootloader, gparted, USB format. What else? Have everything like to run. Like it have a lot of things that are really, really useful. Maybe not the most fun things, but the things that are always like when you need them. You said, oh, damn it. You have to go and find them and try to install them and install the dependencies. It have them. So here you have it. So unfortunately Zorin didn't make it big high at this time. Maybe hopefully they will focus, you know, on it instead of like trying to like make deals with the Brave browser. And you know, I understand making a business is not easy, you know, but no matter whoever do a business, their main goal should be to focus on a good product. Yeah, I mean, it's still a good product, but definitely now way behind. You know, Zorin remind me of Elementary OS, where it used to be similar to Zorin and now it's SOC. But here we have it. We have MX Linux and Linux Mint top one. Debian come a third. Ubuntu is, despite all its problems, because it have a huge company behind it, no, it is still good. And that is it. You guys have a good day.